There is a strange feeling many of us carry today. It does not feel like sadness exactly. It is not dramatic enough to be called despair. And yet it sits in the background of our lives like a low constant hum. You can be doing everything right. Working, exercising, improving yourself, consuming the right content, even smiling in photos. And still, something feels missing. It's not happiness nor success, but it feels like weight on your shoulders. Now here is what should disturb you. Our saints lived lives that were objectively harder than ours in every measurable way. They lacked sleep, food, security, and comfort. And yet, they were not handed by this hum. They were not restless, bored, nor thin inside. The saints were alive. Saint Paisios lived in physical pain, illness, exhaustion, and poverty. He slept little, ate simply, carried the burdens of other people's suffering daily. And yet those who met him did not encounter a bitter or depleted man. They encountered joy. Not excitement, hear me out, joy. Quiet, grounded, unshakable joy. St. Paisios said, "When the soul works, the body does not feel tired." We always say the opposite. Even when our bodies rest constantly, our souls are exhausted. That should alarm you. Our fundamental problem is not that life is difficult, but that it demands almost nothing from the soul. The saints lived in a world where survival required effort, but they added more effort voluntarily. They fasted when they could have eaten. They prayed when they could have slept. They stayed in silence even when distraction was available. This is not because they hated themselves, but because they understood something we refuse to accept. The soul dies when it is never asked to struggle. St. Anthony the Great did not flee into the desert because the world was evil. He fled because he saw how easily comfort dulls vigilance. In the silence of the desert, every thought became loud. His weaknesses surfaced, and every illusion collapsed. That is exactly what we avoid. We reach for simulation the moment boredom appears. When discomfort rises, we anesthetize it. Whenever silence threatens us, we feel it, and then we wonder why something feels missing. Saint Mary of Egypt, the gem of Christianity, lived a life of extreme pleasure before her conversion. She knew indulgence intimately. When she repented, she did not replace excess with moderation. She replaced it with discipline so severe it frightens us. She spent decades alone. She was exposed to hunger and to the natural elements of the desert, without any distractions. And yet, when she was later encountered, she was radiant. She was not traumatized. She was not empty. She was radiant and full of joy. She had learned what we have forgotten. Pleasure numbs the soul. Struggle awakens it. We live surrounded by pleasure and wonder why we feel numb. Saint Silouan the Athonite fought despair so intensely that it nearly destroyed him. His struggle was not aesthetic, it was brutal. Long nights of prayer where nothing felt good, nothing felt inspiring, and nothing felt comforting. At one point, the words of Jesus Christ pierced him. "Keep your mind in hell and despair not." That was not poetry. It was instruction. Stay present in pain. Do not escape it. Do not try to distract yourself. And never lie to your soul. And something extraordinary happened. Saint Silouan became peaceful. His life didn't become easier, but his soul became honest. Now compare this to us. The moment prayer becomes boring, we stop. The moment discomfort appears, we assume nothing is wrong. The moment effort is required, we question whether it is healthy. The saints did not ask, "Does this feel good?" They asked, "Does this heal my soul?" Now going back to St. Paisios, he warned that people today suffer not because life is hard, but because life is shallow. He watched people arrive at his cell exhausted from comfort, not labor. Too much information, too many choices, too little stillness. He saw something clearly. Convenience does not create peace. It creates forgetfulness. forgetfulness of death, God, and purpose, the three most important paragons of our life. The saints lived with constant remembrance of these three columns. This is why they were joyful. As we've said, joy is not the absence of pain, it is the presence of meaning. Look honestly at your life. How often are you truly still? How often do you endure something without escape? And how often do you stay with prayer when it gives you nothing back? The saints did not scroll past boredom like we do with TikTok. They faced it until it broke open. We keep scrolling until the day is over and then wonder why the days feel empty. Modern life offers freedom without obedience. The saints understood that obedience was not oppression, it was surgery. Saint Maximus the Confessor taught that freedom is not doing what you want, but becoming what you were created to be. That requires resistance. You need to follow the rules. Fasting, structure, discipline. Not to control the soul, but to free it from the slavery of comfort. We fear structure because we confuse it with limitation. The saints embraced structure because they saw where chaos leads. The most unsettling truth is this. The saints were happy not because their lives were easy, but because their lives were aligned. Their suffering made sense. They were struggling to reach heaven. This is why their effort mattered. And this is why their struggle was directed. Our suffering is scattered. Anxiety without danger, exhaustion without labor, loneliness without solitude. Look around you. You are surrounded by people, but yet lonelier than ever. We suffer, but we do not know why. The saints knew exactly why they suffered. They suffered for repentance, for purification, for love of God, and union with Him. This is why modern despair feels vogue. There is no enemy to fight, no cross to carry, no sacrifice that feels necessary. Everything around you is optional. And when everything is optional, nothing is worth enduring. The saints chose difficulty because difficulty clarified life. We avoid difficulty and yet we still live confused. If this makes you uncomfortable, then it's good. Orthodoxy is not meant to soothe you into sleep. It is meant to awaken you. The saints are not distant heroes. They are mirrors. And what they reflect is not flattering, but it is hopeful. Because the same path is still open. Not through dramatic gestures or romantic suffering, but through small, deliberate resistance. Staying in prayer when it is dry, keeping silence when noise is easier, fasting when indulgence is available, enduring boredom without escape. This is where the soul regains weight. The strange hum you feel is not a defect, it is hunger. And the saints prove that hunger does not disappear through comfort. It disappears through struggle that leads somewhere. They were tired in body but rested in soul. We are rested in body and exhausted inside. This is not progress. It's a warning, and it is still early enough to listen.